Well, now I've got a tropical update for you. We're going to take a look at the hurricane models, what they are, how they are used in helping us forecast. And I'm going to show you the spaghetti plots on an area that is likely to become potentially Tropical Storm Alvin here in the next couple of days. Very good chance of development in the eastern Pacific. So I'll show you that. I'll show you where it's going. We'll talk about if it could impact places like Cabo or maybe Puerto Vallarta. We'll take a look at those areas and the relation to where this disturbance is headed. So if you have travel plans or if you have family or friends down there, you may want to check out our tropical update coming up. Also, we're going to talk about sea turtles. They're so beautiful, so graceful. You see those occasionally, and now is nesting season. So some of those sea turtles, the loggerheads, the green sea turtles, making their way up onto the beaches and doing their nests. So we're going to talk about some things to look out for when you're at the beaches and kind of update you on that situation as well. We had a sea turtle found by the stranding team in North Carolina not too long ago. We'll revisit all of this and talk about what's upcoming as well. So we're going to start off with a look at the wet weather that is out there. Look at the big storms down across parts of Louisiana and into southern Mississippi. We've got rain out to the west here in Hampton Roads, and we'll come back to that in a bit. But I do want to focus on this chance for storms down to the south. So as we zoom in, let's go ahead and take this full. I want to go ahead and we'll switch over the radar to the live look here in just a moment, or take a look at the mosaic. And across that area, again, those heavy storms, that line, very intense moving along. That severe thunderstorm watch, excuse me, which includes Baton Rouge, Gulfport, Hattiesburg, and Jackson, that will run until 1 o'clock Central Time. So, again, a number of folks down there, 1.4 million folks under that severe thunderstorm watch through 1 o'clock Central. As we switch over to the radar mosaic, and I put some warnings on here, you can see what's going on. Again, inside that watch area, we have 3 different warnings for severe storms. So as we take a look here, again, one of those warnings just about ready to expire, I think, before too long. That's the one to the west, and they've already pared down part of it. That will run for the next 25 minutes or so, that eastern edge of that. Then we have a new one, which is just off to the northwest. That includes Clinton, Brandon, Jackson, Pearl, some of the cities there. About 337,000 under warning through 9 a.m. So, again, the one there, a little farther to the west, that one expires at 8:30. The one to the east here at 9, and then we've got this other one down to the south of McGee. Let me show you that. That includes Monticello, Mount Olive, New Hebron, and Apprentice. There we go. That one until 8:45. So those are the warnings down across Louisiana. Again, these storms have been moving along to the east and will continue to roll along, again, eventually coming into the south and southeastern portions of Mississippi there. So that's how they're tracking. Let me put this back into motion for you. And again, what you're going to find across the area down that way, the storms continue. A lot of lightning, some gusty winds with that, and some locally heavy rain. No tornado warnings. That's a little bit of a relief there with that line. I was thinking maybe some bowing and some gusty winds with that, but nothing rotating, at least nothing to this point. So good news there for now. Now, as we take our attention and we'll go back to the national look here, I want to talk about the outlooks for severe weather. Obviously, where we have the thunderstorm watch down across Louisiana into Mississippi, we've got those severe storms. I just showed you that. But we have, as far as the general outlook for excessive rainfall, you'll notice it not only includes these areas that are under the watch, but areas back across Texas. Good chances for some heavier rain back there. Kind of a level 2 threat for excessive rainfall with potential flash flooding or maybe some urban street flooding. Poor drainage areas obviously can back up all along the Gulf Coast as well. As you look back to the east of this area across Alabama, Georgia, southern parts of South Carolina and coastal sections there, all the way up through southern North Carolina, there too, again, there's a likely or kind of level 2 threat for some excessive rainfall. We could also see some excessive rainfall back out to the west, talking about West Virginia into eastern Kentucky and parts of northeast Tennessee. For Hampton Roads, it's a level 1 threat. I'm not worried about it early today, but as you will see, we're going to see increasing chances for rain here in Hampton Roads a little bit later today, and especially this afternoon and tonight into tomorrow morning. I think the rain a little bit heavier across parts of our area. So that's what we're looking at in terms of excessive rainfall. Now, the severe weather threat, it's kind of interesting. This is, again, an area you see down across the deep south, Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia with a level 2, or what we call a slight risk. The level 1 risk extends all the way to the coast, Georgia and South Carolina and North Florida. That's just a marginal risk, level 1. But we do have that level 2 from right around the Atlanta area and then southward back across Alabama and Mississippi, and then West Texas into the southeast corner of New Mexico. We also have a slight risk there. So a couple areas with a little bit better chance for some stronger storms. You can see the level 1 threat or marginal risk extends up through the panhandles of Texas and Oklahoma into eastern Colorado and eastern New Mexico. Talk about the tornado potential, and again, it's the lowest of the elevated threats, but still a chance for a few rotating cells over the western parts of Texas and again down here in the southeast U.S. Same areas, Mississippi, Alabama, and back into Georgia. That's southern Mississippi. As you can see, there could be some strong and gusty winds at this point. We're talking winds maybe reaching 55 to say 60 or 65 miles per hour with some of those strongest outflow boundaries with some of the storms. In addition, there is the hail potential, and it's kind of a level 1 threat down along the southeast. You can see that level 1 threat extending up into eastern parts of Colorado. But I really want to focus on this hashed area here, and you can see this is an area where we could get some larger hail. So let's take a closer look. First of all, over West Texas, you can see from Midland back over to Carlsbad, you get into New Mexico, the potential extending all the way up there. Alpine back over to San Antonio, Del Rio, Laredo, Texas, all these areas potentially could see some larger hail, maybe 2 inches or more in diameter. And we have seen with this system, as it sags farther to the south, we've seen with the system previously some large hail already in parts of the south central U.S. So we'll continue to watch that. Here we do not have the severe weather potential, but we are seeing rain spreading in across central parts of Virginia. And I really want to analyze this a little more closely. So again, let's take this full, and I'm going to step over and switch up to our live radar here as we go. First of all, you'll notice the rain pretty widespread. This is not heavy, but it's out there around Lynchburg and Farmville, South Boston, and extending now towards I-95. As we take a closer look at Hampton Roads, we can switch over again to the live radar. And with that, I want to get into this a little bit more as far as the radar rainfall rates, kind of by estimation, just out there around Roanoke Rapids. We're looking at just a few hundredths of an inch per hour. So this is not like a steady heavy rain, but kind of a light to moderate rain. Again, some of that precip barely making it down to the ground on the leading edge down around Farmville. We're also looking at a rate of just a hundredth of an inch or so per hour. So nothing heavy there, but the rain is out to the west, and we're going to see this working eastward. Now, a little bit earlier, I put track on this and looked at it over the course, the movement over an hour or so. And what I found was that the leading edge of this was working at about 15 miles per hour. So as this works to the east in this general direction, you can see again Emporia, some of the areas out to the west, Rich Square, maybe say Seaboard, some of those communities out there. You'll see that rain kind of starting to fill in over the next half hour to say hour or so. And then if it continues to hold together again, and eventually it will, it's going to reach the western parts more, I guess closer to the metro area, but really still the western parts of the viewing area into the middle part of the day. This area out around Farmville, let me put a leading kind of an edge on that and move that forward as well. Crew, Blackstone, Oak Forest, some of the different communities in line to see something over the next 40, 45 minutes or so. This is not rushing eastward, but just kind of slowly creeping east across the region. So it's going to take a little while, but I do eventually expect to see these showers overtaking the area. We'll get into the future cast, and we'll talk about all of this as we go along. But right now, I want to turn our attention to the tropics and what's going to be happening here. Again, you can see with this, we do have some interesting stuff to talk about. We are just days away from the start of the Atlantic hurricane season. You're going to notice here, though, across the Atlantic, the main development region, very, very quiet right now. And while sea surface temperatures certainly warming up, we're going to keep an eye to that always. The main areas that we have for development this time of year down in the Caribbean, parts of the Gulf, and we start looking around the southeast coastline, we have nothing to worry about right now. No development is expected over the coming 7 days. So things are looking pretty good for us. Now, as we turn our attention to the Eastern Pacific, and remember, the start of the Eastern Pacific hurricane season is mid-May. So we're already into it here, and we've got an area, just a kind of a broad area of low pressure that is showing very good signs of development. There's a 90% chance that this becomes a tropical cyclone within the next couple of days, and you can see it's forecast to continue moving off to the west-northwest. Now, currently, the center of this kind of broad area, it's not very well organized right now, but this is in an area where it will likely become organized. That's why we have that 90% chance of development. That center's still a few hundred miles south of the Mexican coastline, and it's forecast to move off in this direction. So again, you might be worrying about Cabo San Lucas or Puerto Vallarta. Let's take a look at the spaghetti plots on this and show you how it is forecast to move along. You see it initially moving off to the west-northwest here in the short term. This is through 4:30 tomorrow afternoon. After that, as we get into Thursday, you can see by Thursday still moving northwest. At this point, could be a tropical storm, could be Alvin here. We'll have to see how quickly it develops, but it is forecast to turn to the north. Now, as it comes up to the north, you take a look here, you're like, okay, wait a second, here's Puerto Vallarta. Here's Cabo San Lucas. The model's kind of bringing it up in here. If this were a powerful hurricane or a stronger system, it could potentially create some real problems here. On this projected path, as I take a look at the forecast guidance going out several days, it's actually forecast to weaken a little bit as it turns to the north and to the northwest. Still a bit of a rainmaker, but not packing the super powerful winds. It's not forecast to ramp up at this point and become a powerful system slamming into this area, but rather weakening as it turns to the north and kind of comes in here. So again, the models aren't going crazy. This is a general direction with this, but it is certainly something that we are going to continue to watch very, very closely, and we want to make sure everybody has, a good understanding of the threats coming and what could develop with these things. So you might be wondering how exactly forecasters track these hurricanes and predict how all of this works, what these models really mean. Well, meteorologist Evan Stewart explains how the models and this spaghetti plot all work.
Hurricane forecast maps with squiggly lines representing the various hurricane forecast models are ubiquitous during hurricane season, projecting where a tropical system might go. They represent a complex set of equations and algorithms that meteorologists have been using for decades, dating back to the 1950s. Today's models are far more complex, taking hours to run on some of the fastest supercomputers in the world. Data from satellites, aircraft, ships, buoys, and land-based sensors are fed into the model's mathematical equations to create a digital version of the atmosphere. Each model has a different purpose, so they use different sets of data and equations, resulting in different forecasts. Some models incorporate the date and location of past storms, while others focus only on a storm's strength or direction of movement. Ultimately, these models are restricted by available data and computing power, but they are all improving every year.
So we continue to lean heavily into those models, and they really do a very good job, and they've gotten so much better over the years. In my, 36-year career, We've seen a lot of improvements where some of the models, once upon a time, you'd have a huge spray of uncertainty, and now those cones of uncertainty are getting narrower and narrower. There are still challenges, like the intensity forecasting is still a little bit of a challenge, but the models are getting better and better. All right, I mentioned earlier that the Atlantic season set to begin June 1, just a few days away. You see the peak of the season, September 10th. It runs through November 30th. And we've been talking a lot about some of the hurricane seasonal projections. You see what NOAA put out here last week. They're forecasting 13 to 19 named systems. You can see 6 to 10 of those becoming hurricanes and 3 to 5 becoming major hurricanes. That's category 3 or higher. The averages are 14, 7, and 3. That's over a period here dating back from 1990 to 2020. So you take a look at the averages. We are forecasted by NOAA likely to be average or above average. The chances of an average season, very close to these numbers, about 30%. The chances of above average activity, they're putting at 60%. And the chances of below normal activity, only around 10%. So that's what NOAA is thinking. Now, there's another forecast group that has done a great job for a long time, and that's the group out of Colorado State University. And it's been a while since I've shared this outlook. They actually released this in April. And if you take a look here, these are the numbers. They don't put out a range. They're like, this is what we think. 17 named storms, 9 hurricanes, and 4 major hurricanes. They'll have their next update coming out June 11th. They update it again in July, and they do a final one in August for the remainder of the season. But this is their latest outlook, again, that came out in April. And you can see those numbers very much in line. I'll go back real quickly here just to show you NOAA. Again, 13 to 19. Well, Colorado State had it at 17. You see 6 to 10, 3 to 5. You look at Colorado State's numbers, and they are right in line with what the NOAA is putting out and what the general thinking is for this season. So just wanted to share those with you. We also have the list of names out for the 2025 season. We've gone through this again. You'll notice Andrea, our first named system, but I wanted to talk to you about the second name on the list. That's Barry. All right, now you may be wondering, haven't we had a storm named Barry recently? Well, that's right. This is a look at Hurricane Barry, which made landfall in the Gulf back in 2019. The storm caused an estimated $600 million in damage for Louisiana. Meteorologist Taylor Stephenson explains why Barry is back on the list this year and looks back at previous Barrys.
Barry is back on the tropical cyclones list for 2025, and as recently as 2019, Barry was a hurricane that made landfall in the U.S. Let's take a look back at the history of the 7 tropical systems named Barry. The first Barry formed back in August 1983 and eventually matured into a hurricane. 1983, Barry made landfall in eastern Florida as a tropical storm, re-strengthened in the Gulf, and then made a second landfall in Mexico as a Cat 1 hurricane. Since the 1980s, 6 of the 7 iterations of Barry made landfall somewhere in North America. The most recent landfall occurred in Louisiana in 2019, also with a Cat 1 status. Additionally, 6 of the previous 7 Barrys developed around the Caribbean, the Gulf, or near the U.S. East Coast, which are typical development hotspots for June and early July. Remember that names like Barry are recycled every 6 years unless the World Meteorological Organization decides to retire the name. For 13 News Now, I'm meteorologist Taylor Stephenson.
All right, Taylor, love those bits of information. It's always interesting to look back on previous seasons and previous storms and take a look at tracks and tendencies. We love to do that here at 13 News Now. I want to show you sea surface temperatures, and you can see, again, that sea surface temperature really warming up. It's very warm right now down in the Caribbean, back across the Gulf, looking out across, again, the main development region. Temperatures warming as well. Not the record warmth that we saw last year, but it is plenty warm, and we're going to start watching for more and more development. Now, the warmer sea surface temperatures also kind of play into our next story, and we're going to talk a little bit about sea turtles. So nice. This picture, I'm going to give credit here to the NOAA Fisheries. They had this posted. And again, it's just a beautiful green sea turtle kind of floating along there, swimming, having a good time. It is sea turtle nesting season. It's now underway in the east and along the Gulf Coast, including Virginia and North Carolina. Wildlife officials are urging beachgoers and boaters to use extra care when out along the beaches and out on the water. Faith Colbert shows us more from Texas.
Tides and seagulls aren't the only things you need to watch out for when heading to the beach.
One of the things that we ask people to do is really be cautious of sea turtles, particularly because this is sea turtle nesting season for Kemp's ridleys, the most endangered species of sea turtle in the world.
Some sea turtles have seen better days, according to a popular post shared by the In-Water Research Group. Sea turtles like this adult female green, who was simply minding her own business when she was struck by a boat and succumbed to her injuries.
We do have some here, but mostly in Florida and Mexico, they'll see more loggerhead and green sea turtles. So the green sea turtles are the ones that are basically herbivorous when they're adults. So there's a lot more of a chance of them being interacted or having boat interactions in the shallower bays than our Kemp's ridleys do here.
The main method of practicing proper beach safety protects more than just marine life.
When you're driving back and forth, just making sure that you're very aware, you're slowing down your speeds, not only for the marine life, but for the people that are visiting the coastal bend as well. It can be a real hazard for them. So hopefully we can get them up on the beach, they can deposit those nests, they can get back into the water and swim off.
Weather is also a silent factor in the battle of protecting sea turtles.
The wind blows their tracks away, so that's the point of them coming up. The predators can't find their nests. So they come up on the really windy days. Usually when you see one turtle come up, you'll have multiple come up on the same day. And they like the really windy days with the strong gusts. So if you're seeing winds of probably 20 miles an hour or more, you can pretty much count on there's a high chance of there being turtles coming up on those days.
Sea turtle nesting season runs through July 15th, so keep that in mind as tourist numbers tend to rise in our summer months. Faith Colbert, 3 News.
That is so interesting. I never really gave that thought, but that on the windy or rougher days when the winds are going to be blowing the sand around and maybe helping the sea turtle kind of protect its nest a little bit by not letting predators see exactly where those nests are, they come up. That's pretty cool. Appreciate that story as well. I can tell you right now at the ocean front, things aren't looking too bad, but you really do need to be super careful. We had right here along the North Carolina Outer Banks a few weeks ago down at Cape Hatteras National Seashore, they rescued a juvenile green sea turtle after someone called their stranding hotline. There's a picture of the guy. Take a look. That sea turtle was taken to the North Carolina Aquarium for rehabilitation. The aquarium says that turtle weighed nearly 8 pounds when first brought in, since it was covered in barnacles and algae. After getting a nice clean up there, the turtle dropped down to 6 pounds. It's a lot of extra weight on that poor little turtle. If you see wildlife in distress on the seashore, call the Marine Mammal Stranding Network in North Carolina. You can also call Virginia Aquarium's Stranding Response Hotline. They do a great job. And just a couple other quick notes. Again, they mentioned in that package just using extra caution when driving on the beaches. If you do see sea turtle tracks and you are able to maybe see where a turtle is nesting, give it some space. I mean, they're beautiful to check out, but try to enjoy it from a distance so you don't stress the mama. And also, obviously, if you ever see any of the baby sea turtles, let them do their thing, okay? And it's an amazing story. We always do the stories when there's hatching and, you know, they're making the run for the beach and for the water. And it's an incredible process, but it is nature really kind of at its finest. It's amazing to watch, and it's all part of that cycle. So something to just stay mindful of as we're now in sea turtle nesting season. Now, I mentioned down at the ocean front, we do have a little bit of wave action. It's 64, pretty overcast as we check out the Thompson Creek Window Company sky view. You're going to see today at the beaches, UV index is low, rip current threat is moderate, and we do have a chance for showers later this afternoon. Small craft advisory going up on the bay this afternoon as well for tomorrow, and probably late tonight, but certainly tomorrow, the Atlantic coastal waters going under a small craft advisory as well. So stay mindful of that. As you can see, again, that UV index pretty low between 1 and 2 today. Not a big deal there, but still, if you're going to be out all day, it's never a bad idea to think about your skin. You want to protect it this time of year, because even if you just have some brief breaks in the clouds and that UV index spikes a little bit, you can still get a burn. All right, trees and grass low today with pollen. That's good news. Here's a look at the radar and the futurecast. You saw the showers out to the west. Later today around midday, showers are going to become more likely, especially over the western parts of the area. Into the afternoon, isolated to scattered showers pushing towards the coast. The models were really in disagreement leading up to this morning. The Euro and the Canadian, the graph model kind of held the moisture back. They're starting now to acknowledge what the U.S., the GFS model, and the NAM were all suggesting, that rain would reach the coast a little bit earlier. The truth is probably somewhere right in between. I expect showers to overtake the region, but there may be some breaks as well at times later this afternoon or this evening. Bottom line, though, be prepared for wet conditions for the evening commute and later tonight as well. Now, tomorrow morning, you see the reds and the oranges showing up here. Not severe weather, at least not outlooked from the Storm Prediction Center. But there could be a few stronger downpours in here, maybe some rumbles of thunder, some thunderstorms developing tomorrow, especially earlier in the day, but heavier pockets of rain coming through tomorrow morning. So I'm going to be busy covering that tomorrow morning and through the weather desk. As we look ahead to the noon hour, a lot of the rain starting to pull offshore, but still some areas of heavy rain farther to the north. This will eventually move out, and we'll see improvements coming later in the day and into tomorrow evening. Still some isolated to scattered showers potentially on Thursday, and then more wet weather coming in late Thursday night and early Friday as well. We could actually use the rain. You can see down across North Carolina, moderate drought there. Most of Hampton Roads, though, is in really good shape as far as rainfall goes. Additional rain by the models over the next 48 hours, the NAM and the GFS between a half an inch and an inch. The graph model, that's the one that's most bullish, and this one really had the lowest amounts of rainfall projected up until earlier this morning. So we'll continue to watch that. The Canadian and the Euro pretty close to an inch or so, give or take a quarter inch. Highs today are going to reach the upper 60s. A few spots may reach the mid-70s. It'll be cooler again through the afternoon with chances for showers. Up on the eastern shore, mid to upper 60s, mid to upper 60s for the peninsula and the middle peninsula. Outer Banks, upper 60s, near 70 around Manio, Edenton, and Elizabeth City, close to 68. Now tonight at Harbor Park, the Tides have a baseball game going, something we're excited about here at 13 News Now. My colleague Hunter Force throwing out the first pitch. Wouldn't you know it, you get a meteorologist throw out the first pitch. You may be dodging a few rain showers, as I mentioned. So I'll say foul weather. Doesn't look like storms or anything like that. And if the rain's light enough, they'll be able to play. But there is a potential that we could get some moderate rain, maybe a little bit heavier at times. So we'll need to stay kind of up on this forecast and check back for updates today at noon. And then this afternoon, of course, we'll let you know how things are going. So that's what's going on for the game later this evening. Tonight, the low near 64, chances for showers, and then tomorrow back up to 75. Occasional rain, some thunderstorms possible, especially early to middle parts of the day. After that, we're going to see a little break on Thursday, more showers and storms potentially on Friday. Showers could develop on Saturday, but not as likely. I think most of Saturday and Sunday actually look pretty good. We'll enjoy more sunshine and a warm up into early next week. All right, I want to remind you, you can stay up on the forecast by downloading our 13 News Now mobile app. Take the forecast with you on the go. Access to the radar, it's all there. All of our radar imagery. You'll get special push alerts on breaking news. And, of course, if there's any severe weather, you'll be able to follow it all in our special coverage right there on the 13 News Now app. That's going to do it for this edition of the Weather Desk. I hope you've enjoyed it. Again, my name is Craig Moeller. If you've got a question, maybe you've got something you'd like me to address here on the Weather Desk, shoot me an email. Send it to weatherdesk@13newsnow.com. Again, weatherdesk@13newsnow.com. I'll get those emails. Also, if you ever have any weather pics or video from storms that come through or something you'd like to share with us, you can send those images and video clips as well. All right, have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock right here on the Weather Desk.